Okay, so let's get started. I'm going to discuss briefly our IIT Madras' COVID-related activities um, and what we studied, and then we'll dive into alumni relations. We'll discuss what we do, where we work, and some of our people in leadership positions, where we live, and we'll talk a little bit about giving back and wrap up with a discussion of social media and its use. So let me start by looking at COVID management and some of the contributions of COVID related work. Uh, we have a center on campus called the Pratap Subramaniam Center for Digital Infrastructure and Software Hardware Applications. PSC Disha has been right at the forefront of some of the central COVID related work with, as you all know, the Arogya Setu app is part of the government solution to the problem. And that app was tested and for both security and performance here on campus. Um, so this is a very important milestone for IIT that we developed a tool named Appido, which was funded primarily from the corporate social responsibility funding from City Union Bank, and that helped us. That tool essentially helped us test Arogya Setu app. This was the work of Professor Kamakoti and his researcher group. Uh, and we are also involved in the data analytics for early hotspot prediction, as well as the use of the Arogya Setu data to predict where hotspots are likely to occur. We're also involved in coordination of the data acquisition from different sources. As you can imagine, it is the most downloaded app in India, and this is a humongous effort. And to be right at the center, front and center with the action is very rewarding for an institution like IIT Madras. Um, Another activity that we are very happy to be part of, that we were able to contribute in a small way, is the development of doffing units for hospitals. These are, anytime a doctor goes into a COVID ward, there's a long process for the doctor to come out into the world outside, go maybe, and then remain quarantined for some period of time before they're able to go back into the hospital again. And the process by which they come out of a COVID ward, become decontaminated, and go out is a fairly structured process. So our civil engineering department developed this solution, a completely integrated solution that it's a comprehensive solution where the PPE is removed and the personnel is decontaminated and they come out on the other side. This has now been developed for 2 hospitals locally, and we're working with several others to install this on a war footing. As you all know, this disease is spreading uh, as fast as it can, and we are in the process of developing structured solutions such as this that can be deployed on that same war footing. Another solution, this came mostly from our students, is a very quickly assemblable and deployable face shield solution. This is a very elegant solution that our police and safety workers were able to take advantage of, and it reduced inhaled virus possibly by almost 92%. Now, the reason these have to be developed locally is because um, you cannot transport these across state lines easily, given everything else that's under quarantine. So this is a very elegant solution that the students were able to come up with, locally manufacture and deliver to the police and safety workers. A last point, last activity that I wanted to highlight is our Robert Bosch Center for Data Science and Artificial Intelligence is involved in finding movement patterns and thereby infer disease mobility. They partnered with Facebook data, and we are in the process. We've built epidemiological models as well as visualizations to push situation reports that the policymakers and the government can use to make quick decisions. So these are, many ways by which IIT Madras has been doing its small part in this fairly dreadful disease that has affected the whole world. Um, and I'll come back to this and its impact on IIT Madras itself a little later on. And we'll come back talk about the topic of the day. I want to briefly give you a broad brush view of where our alumni are, what are they up to, and I thought it is important for us to feel this sense of scale that IIT Madras has achieved over the last 60 years. So let me dive right in, and let's quickly give you a feel for what we studied. We, the alumni, have primarily been in engineering, um, 84% of us. And the second largest segment, surprisingly, is humanities. We've a large fraction of us have graduated in humanities, and the third largest is humanities, and the second largest, of course, was the sciences, which started, say, in 1959, along from the time of inception. Degree wise, what we've the alumni that we've graduated, just to kind of put these numbers in perspective, we've awarded over 50,000 degrees to alumni across the, who are now across the globe. But the number of unique alumni, because some of our alumni would have obtained more than one degree from this institution, the number of unique alumni counts at about 47,000. Okay, now the majority of them, by a very thin sliver, have obtained their BTech degrees from IIT Madras, and the second largest has been MTech, and then PhD. I'll come back to these numbers a little later. The number of dual degree students are at about 3,300, which is where the students have obtained both both BTech and an MTech degree as part of their academic program. To put these numbers in perspective, today's IIT Madras has 9,000 plus students on campus. 2,500 of those 9,000 plus students are PhD students. And that is the single biggest demographic segment on campus. And today we add almost a little less than 500 PhD students to this group every day, every year. And so this 5,200 PhD students is almost going up by at least 10%, almost 10% every year. So that's the fastest growing segment as far as percentage is concerned on this graph. And so that will reflect itself a little later on when we look at our alumni count by the year. As you can see, for a very long period of time after the initial scale up, we were at nearly steady state. We were graduating a little less than 1,000 students for a very long period of time. And from about 2000 to last year, when we graduated about 2,400 students. So this last decade, or a couple of decades from 2000 to 2020, has been a decade of very rapid growth. And we believe that this growth is going to somewhat stabilize going forward in time. Our infrastructure is fairly stretched because of this rapid 20-year stretch when we grew both our undergraduate programs as well as our PhD and MS by research programs. Another point I want to make from this slide is the fact that barring the first few years, barring the first maybe 5 or 6 years, in every subsequent year, we've actually graduated more postgraduates than undergraduates. 1985 is a bit of an aberration because that was the year when we switched from a 4 year or from a 5 year undergraduate program to a 4 year program, and two classes graduated together. So it's a bit unfair to compare the two graduating classes in 1985. But barring that, every year has seen more postgraduate students graduate out of IIT Madras than undergraduate students. So this comes as a surprise to many of us. So let me pause here, and I want to take a quick poll. Um, I want you to quickly tell me which was the last degree you obtained from IIT Madras, and I'm just curious to see, um, you know, the attendees here, and to see if it roughly represents the demographics of our overall graduates. Okay, it's somewhat representative. We have quite a few BTech degree holders here and a few MTech, several MTechs, and then dual degree and PhD students. So it's reasonably representative. So let's go back to our presentation. Hope you can see my presentation back again. So let's now look at what we do. Um, Again, this is data that we've been able to get from our LinkedIn and other sources. So we have a fairly accurate database of about 35,000 alumni and a somewhat inaccurate database of the remaining alumni, somewhat incomplete database of the remaining alumni. So this is kind of a broad brush view of a report from that database. And by the alumni's own uh, confession, the vast majority of us are in the engineering profession. They are, almost of 25% of us are in the engineering profession. The rest of the next biggest segment are in business development. And surprisingly, actually, it may not be a surprise to many of us, but uh, the third biggest segment in which our alumni are present are actually in research and education. And when the IITs were started in the 60 years ago, the vision with which the government of India at that time set up the IITs was that graduates out of these engineering would start by doing engineering, uh, out of these institutions would start by doing engineering, but they would actually go deeper into research and creating systems, creating businesses that would then come back to employ more engineers. So essentially, the vision was to graduate leaders, and so almost about 10% of the students who have graduated are in research and education. I see several of my colleagues who are here today from all over the world who are in research and in teaching, and it's a delight to be here. And as you can tell, I myself am one of that 4,176. A newer field to IIT, given that that we are over 60 years old, is this field of IT, and I'm sure most of our younger graduates are some of our younger graduates are in IT, as you will see, and in about 3,000 of us are in operating, and again, consulting is a big employer of our graduates, project management, and almost 1,000 graduates are in the world of finance. Various investment banks come to hire our graduates. They are in the world of venture capitalism. They are in the world of private equity. And so this is again another world out there that our graduates have moved in to do well for themselves and for the societies at large. The last point I wanted to highlight is that over 1,000 of our alumni, this is nearly two in every 100 or three in every 100 graduates have become entrepreneurs. This ratio of almost two or three in every 100 graduates becoming a self-employed entrepreneur is, I think, at the level of what most universities across the world would see, or even better, maybe. I've not had the opportunity to rigorously benchmark ourselves in this respect, but from the data that I've seen, this is certainly an aspect of our graduate population that is remarkable. This is actually, as you all know, where wealth creation happens, and our entrepreneurs are at the forefront of that. We have several to name. From Chris, who was part of the co-founding team of Infosys, to Desh, who's built businesses across the world, to more recently, classes from the classes of 90s with Ram Kumar and Muddu Sudhakar and many others who have built several extremely successful businesses which are either sustaining still or have gone on to be acquired by other larger companies. So this is an aspect of our alumni base that we are extremely proud of, that almost 2 or 3 out of 100 have turned a wealth creator, which is remarkable. Okay, so let's now look at where we work. Um, Again, you will see a long list of names here, and we've sorted this by the top 12 employers of our graduates. And I do know from informal conversations with some of the people here that these numbers are underestimated. I do know that, for example, I know that Google employs far more than 300 of our graduates. But this is the data that we have currently. Like I said, we are missing about we are missing accurate data on about a third of our alumni. But by and large, these would be fairly indicative of where our alumni are. And you can take any of the Fortune 100 or Fortune 500 companies, especially the Fortune 100, would certainly have would certainly have our graduates in there. For a university that is just 60 years old, to have this kind of an impact globally is, I think, quite remarkable. From new age companies to extremely old banks like J.P. Morgan, our alumni have gone on to help and create value in these companies. So let's look at, like we said, our alumni, these institutions were intended to create leaders. So let's see where our alumni are. So what we've done here is to kind of look at all of our alumni who are CXOs in various companies. 7 of our alumni are chief human resource officers. Most notably, one of the human resource officers of Google is a classmate of mine, in fact. Prasad heads several of the human resource operations for Google. Chief product officers, chief marketing officers, chief finance officers. We have one India's second largest mutual fund is run by one of our alumni. He's the CFO of one of India's largest mutual funds. Chief information officers, chief operating officers, and uh, chairpersons of boards. Almost 700 of our alumni have gone on to lead organizations as chairpeople of the boards, CTOs, and more than 2,400 of our alumni are CFOs, are CEOs, vice presidents, presidents, and directors. As you can see, um, far a significant fraction of our alumni are in leadership positions in many of the corporations. And it's an absolute delight as the Dean for Alumni Relations to be able to reach out to these people, to be able to understand what they do, and to be able to make these connections between alumni. I think it's a very rewarding part of my day. From some of the largest grocery chains in the United States to some of the largest corporations in India or globally, our alumni are out there leading them. And to just give you a quick sampling, I didn't want to go through a long list of these people or even a short list of these people here. The best place to find a very short list of these people, or at least uh, the most remarkable of these, is in our list of distinguished alumni list, which is on our webpage. But what I find, with our distinguished alumni list, is that for every one distinguished alumnus that we are able to recognize, we seem to find 3 or 4 or even 5 who absolutely deserve it, but we aren't in a position to recognize all of them. And we wish one day to come back and recognize all of these great people who've created such great vision for organizations as their leaders. Where we live, and this is again another aspect that I find remarkable. Uh, well, not surprisingly, the more than half of the alumni that Indian Institute of Technology has graduated are in India. And the next biggest demographic segment, over 11,000 alumni by last count, are in the United States and Canada. As you will see, They are pretty much spread all over the globe. As a real hard testament to this fact, a year ago, last July, we had a celebration of our foundation day. As you all know, IIT was founded on the 31st of July. So we had a celebration of the foundation day on during the month of July, where we had celebrations from Sydney all the way to Seattle, Tokyo and Sydney on the easternmost rim of the world, to Seattle on the westernmost part of the westernmost continent. We had alumni celebrations in 73 cities, from, you name it, you name a country, we had a celebration there, and we did a montage of all of these celebrations for all of us to see. We had over 3,300 alumni participate in this celebration last year, and we wish we are planning a similar celebration, but given COVID, we probably are not going to do physical get-togethers in various cities. We're planning an online celebration. Please stay tuned. The Alumni Association will reach out to you shortly to on the nature of this celebration. You know what? Again, extremely young institution, only an institution that is 60 years old, to be able to have such a global, wide-reaching impact in 73 or more than 70 countries of the world is really, again, quite remarkable. Um, an institution is only as good as the alumni and the contribution that the alumni make to its success. And I just wanted to give you a quick report card of the last decade or so. And this we started the decade at a fairly humble 4 crores of money raised from our alumni. And we closed the decade at 113 crores raised from all our alumni across the world. This is extremely humbling to have this kind of a growth in just a matter of a decade. And this money, over 430 crores, the last decade has gone on to make a great impact in student and faculty pursuits on campus. This money goes to help several different initiatives on campus, from creating infrastructure to creating new ideas to funding new ideas to also enabling merit cum means scholarships for several of the students who aren't able to afford the tuition at IIT Madras. It's remarkable how some of these students come through extremely difficult situation, but alumni step in to help their time at IIT Madras, and we are able to help them along their way. This is extremely gratifying to see this kind of an impact from alumni giving. Now, we are not just happy counting money. While this is an important aspect, we are very keen to make sure that several alumni are involved. So we are also very conscious of trying to make sure that we have a large alumni base. And it's again very gratifying that last year we had over 1,000 donors contribute to the sum raised. Just to again give you a feel, both of these numbers, over 110 crores raised and 1,000 alumni giving back to an educational institution, is a record for any Indian educational institution ever, by almost a factor of by at least a factor of two. So we are ahead of not just the IITs, but every educational institution in India in the way our alumni love and give back to their alma mater. And while we are, again, we also look at how many new donors are interested in giving back to IIT Madras. It's again extremely gratifying to see that over half of the donors who contributed to IIT Madras did it for the very first time. And during all of these years, we've had at least about 8 to 9% of our alumni base help us in various pursuits. And this again is a very, very important and rewarding part of our institution's growth. This is again an aspect that is very humbling, that such a large number of alumni care about IIT Madras, and it gives us uh, energy to do even more with our time, efforts, and money. Uh, as you all know, IIT Madras has been ranked #1 in the country for the last 4 years. And last year, we were also ranked the best university in India, even competing against some of the more comprehensive universities. And this was on a scale that counted several objective metrics. And again, numbers like this result are a result of, I mean, the #1 rankings are a result of this kind of a love from our alumni. So we're quite active in social media. Just to point out, if any of you are not connected to us, please come back and connect to us. We are extremely keen on conducting a two-way conversation with all of you, both on all of these social media platforms, including Instagram. It's not featured here, but we're getting ready to launch our Instagram profile, so you can all stay in touch with current happenings on campus. LinkedIn gives us a real-time view of our alumni base as well as activities ongoing here on campus. So please connect to us on LinkedIn as well. I want to come back to COVID-19 and how our campus has been able to cope with it. I want to tell you that shortly after the government of India recognized that this pandemic is going to be quite devastating, we quickly moved online with our teaching. All our students had access to lectures online, notes online, and we are now in the process of completing our evaluations online. But this whole last couple of months has not been without a serious impact on students' ability to cope with disaster. And the campus has also come under fairly severe distress. Several of the functions on campus have were had to be suspended. Travel and access costs for several of the students has been excessive. Just to give you a feel, we had to very quickly react and ask several of the students to leave campus and go back home. And just that act put a lot of distress on students, that they could not react sufficiently fast. It was a fairly big cost to them to go back. And we want to see what we can do to help this situation, because it's an important aspect of students and what we should do together. And I want to urge all of you to give regularly and make an impact. We are now set up to take periodic contributions or a one-time contribution. Here's a QR code you can scan, and you can join our GEM Alumni Club by scanning this code. All contributions are 100% tax exempt. In the US, we have a foundation in the US that is eligible to take contributions and provide you the exemption. And in India, IIT Madras provides 100% exemption. So I hope you step up and help us uh, raise our campus distress fund. We are in the process of we needed 50 lakh fund to help our campus distress, both for students as well as some of our staff. And we are now approaching about 40 lakhs. So we certainly hope you can step in and help us reach our goal, which is a very important aspect of making a difference during these extremely difficult times. Again, please connect to our handles, and we would love to stay in touch. With that, I'll stop. Thank you very much, and I'm happy to take questions. So please type your questions in the question box, and I'm happy to answer any questions as and when they arise. Um, there is a separate box, as you can see, for um, typing your questions. So please use that box, not the chat box, to type your questions, and we'll be able to um, answer. I'll be happy to answer the question. There's a question on how the face shield works. Essentially the inhaled virus. I mean, the large fraction of infection spreads through droplet nuclei, which is ejected out of an infected patient, and just by the act of shielding. So the face mask has roughly the same effect as a as a mask covering your nose and mouth. And studies have shown that the efficacy of these masks to reduce the propensity to inhale at least the large droplets, it is upwards of 90%. And this number is really only relevant to people who are in close contact with, who are in general close contact with possibly COVID positive uh, people. So you're talking of policemen and cops on street, or some of our sanitation workers, and that's where I think the most impact was felt. I hope that answered your question, Raj. Good to see you. Um, yes, well, there's an interesting question here. Any alumni famous actors or in fine arts? Certainly fine arts. There's good to see you, Krishnan. Fine arts is there's several. We have professional flautists, and Saumya, flute Bhaskar is one of our alumnus. Saumya, who is a Carnatic classical singer, is an alumnus and a distinguished alumni awardee. Uh, um, we have several composers. Kanikeshwaran, who is a very famous composer who brings the East and the West together, is again an alumnus and a 1984 graduate, and a very he's taken an off the beaten path approach to his own life. We are very proud of that. So yeah, we've had several. In fact, I met a couple of our alumni in Mumbai who are trying their hand at stand-up comedy. They're now professional stand-up comedy actors. So hey, whatever drives you, our alumni have stepped up and have done their part. So we are extremely proud of every one of them for following their heart. Let me take the next question from Pritesh Jain. Can we have different donation channels for student development, infrastructure, staff management, etc.? Certainly. So if you go to our donation site on Joy of Giving, you will see that you can select from one of many options, and you can also pencil in an option if you feel that none of the choices reflect your desire. You can certainly pencil in an option for what you wish to do as well. So yes, you will be able to select the the choice for which you would like your contribution to go and make an impact. And we also send reports back to all our donors on what their donation has done on ground for students or faculty or staff at large. So please step in and help us here. Um, there was a question related to when are students expected back. Um, the answer is I don't know. Um, we are in a situation where travel has not resumed yet. A bare minimum set of flights have started, but states are requiring quarantine. Uh, and more importantly, educational institutions have not been opened yet. So I think uh, I'm speculating here, but the government's priorities are certainly to make sure that people are safe and healthy. And the next highest priority is to make sure the economy is back on track and firing on all cylinders. So that's with those two priorities. I think our opening educational institution is something that they'll probably think about along the way. But my own guess is that next semester will start in some form. We will start maybe online, but we may be a month or so late. But certainly we are making plans for 2 or 3 different contingencies. I have a question here related to the COVID vaccine. Not directly. We are, as you will recall, primarily in the space of engineering, but we have a fairly strong sciences group with a new school of biotechnology. We have a small group of faculty members that are involved in developing testing protocols for vaccines, but we also have a group of faculty members through the Healthcare Technology Innovation Center that are working on diagnostic test kits. So this is another group that has been active for a very long time. But again, these are all activities that are in a fairly initial stage. We don't know, all of us are doing our part, and hopefully we'll be able to find success. Any alumni in politics? Um, yes, actually, as a matter of fact, but not in India. I met uh, former mayor of South San Francisco is an alumnus of IIT Madras. He is a graduate from the late 60s, a remarkable man. He was one of the people that envisioned South San Francisco as a biotech hub when it was a fairly poorly run down place, and he's really transformed the place into an active life sciences hub. So yes, the short answer is yes, but as you will know, it's a short list. I have a question here that says, what is a formal way of associating with the Institute for pro bono as well as minimal stipendiary work? Fantastic. Yes, we welcome all association. We have a fairly large group of people. I see several on this call as well who devote their time practically pro bono for the value that they could have demanded in the open market. They are working for IIT Madras in various capacities, from leading our Gopal Krishnan Deshpande Center for Entrepreneurship, which is a very important place for students and faculty to go and learn the ropes of entrepreneurship, to some of our student facing counseling and wellness initiatives. These are all being led by alumni. And also on the technical front, we have several alumni who are part of Professor Kamakoti's group, which is active in developing, testing, and validating the Arogya Setu app. So certainly, yes, the best way would be to send me an email. My email is mvp@iitm.ac.in. Please send me an email, and I'm more than happy to connect you to the appropriate people. I have a request here to say, connect me to a 1985 Hydrotech batch email. Yeah, please send us an email. I'm happy to connect. Um, to career counseling and career guidance, certainly yes, there's a fairly active career guidance and counseling cell. If you go on the alumni association webpage, you'll see more about it. IITMAA.org should give you all that information. um, Certainly, I think COVID is going to be a specific case where we will be able to, we will need all the help we can to make career transitions. Does COVID Distress Fund qualify under CSR? Yes, certainly. We raise, like I said, we raised quite a bit of, we raised over 100 crores last year. About 40% of that came from CSR contributions from various companies, some of them led by our alumni, some of them not, but they all find IIT Madras as a viable CSR partner for their vision. So certainly we are in a position to provide CSR exemption as well. I'm a you're Yes, there is a present platform to link you with alumni Antonsen. Go to iitma.org. Um, then Santosh has a question where you research related to COVID. I did go through it earlier, some of the development work. COVID comes at us at such fast pace that the word research is not really appropriate. What we need is quick, rapid development, innovation, so it can make a difference on ground. And I think several of the faculty members have stepped up to answer that challenge. I have a question from Bhaskar and Krishnamurthy. Can you throw some light on how IIT students will start next year, academic year? Well, we all don't know. Like I said, will be certainly delayed, but we have plans on to start somewhere in the later part of this year. Could be September, could be even early October, but we will catch up. We will, this is a once in a lifetime pandemic, and I think we are all learning as to what could be ways to adapt. I have a question from Vinay. He just says, it's good to see you. Good to see you too, Vinay. And how frequently can we connect like this? As frequent as you want. That's all I can say. Vinay, Vikram, I'm going to quickly wrap up with maybe 2 or 3 more questions. Um, um, Please, Vikram, please send me an email if you're having any trouble. I'm happy to help with enabling. Um, for advice for final year students, stay tough. I think It's extremely important that you not give up on your career. This is a blip in people's careers. As bad as it looks right now, people have gone through worse. People have come out just fine on the other side. So, Devaniti, please keep up your efforts. I'm sure we are all here to help you as much as we can. NPTEL is a great resource for us all to dip into and continue to educate ourselves, continue to reskill ourselves. My email is mvp@iitm. You can find it online as well. Um, and let me, do we have a professional opportunities globally? Again, you're more than welcome to um, uh, stay in touch. I think this is really a great occasion for us all to touch base with each other. Thank you very much for an extremely patient hearing. And we're sorry that we had some technical issues for the first half an hour, but I hope it turned out well. I hope you all learned a little bit. As we are daily interfacing with alumni across the world, but every time I sit down to make a presentation like this, I end up learning a thing or two about our own alumni and all the remarkable things that we've done. This is just a glimpse. So we're more than happy to feature any COVID related work that you're doing. Please send us a short blurb and we'd be more than happy to feature it on our alumni channels. Thank you again for your time. Thank you very much. Good evening, good day, and good night.